So what I wanted to do at this stage is to discuss a range of possibilities, not just hindering on that as a basis, but actually pushing the strategy to a different level, to a different point, and to a different contingent. And allowing the process and allowing the changes, the transformation that come from that to take us into a new dimension and a new era, basically. It's a new era is what I'm particularly interested in, and we'll want to talk to you about specifically during this seminar session and conference. There are going to be multiple standpoints and, as you'd expect, a range of cataclysmic moments that will change dimensions, but also change, to some extent, change the position of the stakeholder, allowing stakeholders to accept isolation whilst also accepting participation and pragmatism, to allow that to consider where they are, start points, end points, and mid points. Entropy may or may not be considered as part of that process, but ultimately that's where we are. This is the position we're taking, and from that seminar we'll move on to seminars A, B, C, and D, probably then swiftly moving on to Q, which will be the final seminar and conference, allowing us to, again, navigate through that zone of contingency, but also navigate through that zone of conflict. In a pedagogical sense, and to that extent considering andragogy within that mix too, just so we're completely clear where we are with that. So let's proceed. Let's commit ourselves to that next step. Let's commit ourselves, mind, body, and soul, if you want to that process of liturgical consideration and positioning. And once we've faced that, we can then move on, and pushing, and twisting truths, authenticity, and locality to consider all reasonable responses. Essentially, that's where we are, and that's what we do. So let's consider that position, and then let's. So to continue from that point, allowing us to fathom the pedagogical ground and territory within which this space is happening, what we can now do is refer to textbooks A, B, and Q. Q's a little bit later on, but Q can also update and allow the process of transformation within that context to change and challenge. So what I want to do is to look at Q with an open mind, allowing the pedagogical structures from A and B to filter through and to allow that process to flourish, flower, transform. So the transitory existence from A to B to Q is linear but also non-linear, is allowing you to engage but also disengage. So kind of lots of dualisms, lots of dichotomies, pushing that ubiquitous stakeholder from a position of static, from a position of loss or stagnancy to competency and a challenge, horizon challenging, basically. So that's what I want to do, and there's a complexity to it, which I want to talk to you about in more detail, and hopefully that will come through within the context of the images that we're looking at, but also the context and environment that we find ourselves in. So to push that to allow those changes to take place, to allow that position and then exploration of changes within the context of A, B, and Q, what we really need to be doing, what we absolutely essentially have to be doing, is positioning ourselves within a place that allows us to take that through. And I believe that within the context of pedagogical strata and ubiquitous thinking and learning, this is that place, this is that moment, and this is that state coming, loosely defined on chairs and tables that have that gap, or bridge that gap from A to Q. So let's just focus and remember A, B to Q and take that forward to the next step, essentially. So to bridge that gap, A, B, and Q, always considering A, B, and Q from that point, bridge that gap to maximise on that linear journey. What we really, again, need to be considering and having the forefront of our minds is that transformational categories, transformational obligatory moments of thinking, learning, and strategizing don't just happen in a pocket, but actually can happen above and beyond where we are, where we're positioned. That loosely defined, to use a German term, is hybrid, but also positioning you in the context of a natural formation. So we're looking at almost like stride three, so ultimately transformation from pedagogical A, B, and Q, Q being the outpost, A being start point, territorial zone of locality. Taking those stages will not really allow you to push, but will allow you to think. And thinking within that context, thinking within a realm of images, will not really allow you to push, will allow you to think within that non-esoteric esoteric thinking, will allow you to think how you can take that knowledge formation as a strength. Notice that is knowledge formation, and it's about how you can take that knowledge formation as a strength of character. So, again, allowing ourselves to take on this practice of the development of the knowledge. Positioning ourselves. Transformation. Pushes us, reinforces this stepping out, not necessarily of ourselves, but stepping out to embrace transformation and not succumbing to an obligatory, ubiquitous intention that most things conceive. That most stakeholders would expect, but instead surviving on the point, on the threshold of knowledge and understanding, and allowing that knowledge and understanding to explore and exert and almost conceive an extension. It's that process that we need to stressing without any doubt that clarity at level Q, clarity at stage Q is above and beyond A and B, and you will see And it's these moments of becoming, it's these moments of transitory moments where that pushes us, reinforces this stepping out, not necessarily of ourselves, but stepping out to embrace transformation and not succumbing to an obligatory, ubiquitous intention that most stakeholders would expect, but instead surviving on the point, on the threshold of knowledge and understanding. And allowing that knowledge and understanding to explore and that most stakeholders would expect, but instead surviving on the point, on the threshold of knowledge and will and let's reposition ourselves, considering environment, strategy, culture, social positioning, and allow for that transformation to take place. So based on what we've just seen, based on the entire strata of this controlling feature, and based on aspects of the movement and the repositioning and a relocation of knowledge, moving and considering A to B to Q, and then exploring that repositioning. Looking at that and taking it is absolutely essential for this process of, to a certain extent, anti-becoming. Looking towards renegotiation, re-navigation of self to explore and to push knowledge-based systems that then filter into pedagogical strata and moving that forward in a liturgical, exemplary process to a certain extent. So leaving it there, allowing you to gain that process of trust.
excuse me.